all our top stories on our website is channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. And you can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. When you're done downloading, we do urge you to please interact with the channel's Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS and Windows 8 platforms. If you've got pictures or videos to share with us, simply tap on the Channels TV app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Well, here are some pictures you sent in through our Eyewitness portal. We'll begin with this one from Kojo Street in Ajegunle in Lagos State, showing a flood laden with rubbish. Our Eyewitness reporter says that the heavy rainfall which pushed out the garbage from the gutters where some residents dump refuse, he's appealing to the authorities to build a canal and expand the water passage to forestall a recurrence. And similar to that is this picture from Ida in Kogi State, showing a parcel of land which our Eyewitness reporter says is within a residential area filled with refuse. He reports that the garbage is already an environmental hazard and therefore pleads with the relevant authorities to clear the rubbish. And that's the picture. Lady Lac in Shomolu area of Lagos State comes this picture showing a section of the road in bad shape. Our Eyewitness reporter said that the road project was awarded to contractors who later abandoned it. He says that residents are appealing to the authorities to fix the road, which has made life unbearable for them. And finally, that's the picture from Ogo Otagba in Delta State, showing the dilapidated roof of Emovore Primary School as a result of age. He is therefore calling on the relevant authorities to replace the roof and protect the pupils from the elements of weather. I want to thank you so much indeed for sending those pictures, and please remember that you can always report news and events happening around you using our Eyewitness portal. I want to thank you so much indeed for sending those pictures coming in. All right, now let's now take you back to the AU summit, where we have been following, of course, on events there, on the Sudanese president's arrest warrant given to the South African government to try to get him to submit to the ICC. And now we're being joined by Ambassador Ayo Adigun. He's the former Nigerian ambassador to Liberia. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us at this time. What do you make of this situation in South Africa now that they have issued an interim order stopping Sudan's leader Bashir from leaving the country?
Thank you very much. I want to pay much attention to this arrest warrant on the Sudanese president. Let's look at the issues. The summit has been 6 days for the past 2 days. The issue of peace and security in Africa. We have the question of Burundi crisis. We also have the issue of migration, and then the xenophobia attack recently in South Africa, and then other issues that engage the attention of the leaders. First and foremost, I believe that our president, who presided over the Peace and Security Committee, did very well to address these issues, because this was the first engagement of our president to first continental engagement to South Africa after its election. Also, there is the issue of this cat and mouse game between the ICC in Hague and President Omar al-Bashir of Sudan. We recall that in 2003, there was this war in former Sudan, especially in the Darfur region, in which he was accused of crime against humanity and genocide in Darfur. And in 2009, the AU issued a warrant of arrest of al-Bashir. And ever since then, he has been playing some ding-dong affair with ICC in Hague. For instance, he has been very careful not to travel to countries that are not signatories to the Rome Treaty on ICC. He has visited Saudi Arabia, he has visited Egypt. These are non-signatory members. It is also instructive to state that in 2013, President Umar visited Nigeria for the AU summit, and we didn't have this case of people going to court. But the significant issue concerning the human rights in South Africa, who went to court to obtain injunction that he should be arrested, is quite a new dimension. But I believe it will be difficult for the AU or for South Africa to release Omar al-Bashir to ICC at this point, because most of African leaders have found that they have made some mistake tactically in acceding to the ICC treaty in Rome. For instance, recently...
My apologies. Let me just, if I could just come in there for a minute or two. Does contempt of court, of course, the contempt of court order, does it arise in this case of President Bashir?
I don't think legally it arises, because as it is, until even if the court in South Africa rules that he should be arrested, the South African government may resist. He is in South Africa for AU summit, and he was duly invited by President Zuma of South Africa. So he is with his colleague. So apart from that, there is no basis except South Africa. I would be surprised if al-Bashir will be released to ICC in South Africa.
But in line with international norms, where does this leave the immunity granted to all international participants if President Bashir is arrested eventually?
Well, I would be surprised if eventually South Africa assents to this. But I believe that it is becoming clear by the day that for leaders who are fingered to have performed atrocities on their nation, like the case that is falling on al-Bashir, I believe that the law should catch up with them one day. I don't know how far his cat and mouse game with ICC will last, maybe after he has left power. But the scenario in South Africa now is very precarious. From what I'm hearing, I don't think South Africa may likely release President Bashir.
But this is what we know. We also know that South Africa is a signatory to the ICC, and as a result, could go ahead to comply. What do you think will be the implication if South Africa does this?
South Africa will have, for African leaders or for AU itself, South Africa would be very, very I think it will be put in a very difficult situation as we see today. For now, my reading is that it's not likely South Africa government will release al-Bashir to ICC in its territory. I believe that the situation is very, very dicey, and I don't think so, because from what we are saying, he may eventually escape this time. But the price is that as a signatory, like I mentioned to you earlier, in 2013, Omar Bashir was in Nigeria in Abuja for this AU summit. But we didn't have this situation of people going to court to seek for his arrest. Probably that's why we didn't have a problem there. But for now, this is a very testy case, and I don't know what the lawyers will say, but I believe from what we are seeing that the South African government may not release Bashir.
Okay, let's take a look at other issues that borders the African continent, looking at the situation in Burundi and, of course, in Nigeria's northeast security issues that they have. Is the AU more focused this time around to resolve these issues?
Yeah, it's not doubt that AU is focused, but they have problems. They have a lot of encumbrances. Look at our President Muhammad Buhari, who just presided over the Peace and Security Council. He also has problems in his own territory, the Boko Harams, and he has just forged a regional alliance to combat this scourge. I believe that taking on board again the crisis in Burundi, where I don't think even the Burundi Nkurunziza is now in South Africa for this summit, and the other parties to the crisis. So how do you reconcile a president that is in dispute with opposition that is not also at the AU summit? Also, with this threat of insurgency, Islamist insurgency in Nigeria, the Boko Haram challenge, and also the Al-Shabaab in Kenya, All these things are immediate concern to them. It's a priority. On the basis of this, there are also issues of migration, issues of xenophobia in South Africa and other things. So I believe that in the final analysis, what you may end up having is some resolutions, but probably no serious action, because a lot of countries have a lot of things in their hand. And perhaps, I'm not sure whether the AU itself and the leaders have the wherewithal, the financial wherewithal. They need the support of the international global community to combat terrorism, for instance.
I'm afraid
They need
we're going to
also
have to leave it at that. I
support
want to thank you so much indeed, Ayo Adigun, Nigeria's former ambassador to Liberia. Many thanks indeed. Now, African leaders at the AU summit also began negotiations for the Continental Free Trade Agreement, the CFTA. They stressed the need for the negotiations and agreed to implement it before 2017. Once implemented, the Continental Free Trade Agreement will bring together a total of 26 countries and cover up 58% of the continent's GDP.
As a commission, my role is to take 2017 as the date and making sure that, with my team coming up with a roadmap that will fit and come up with something very clear up to 2017. I think the world is becoming very complex right now. I think that the protection is becoming very, very, very difficult. This infant industry that we talk about and all these things, this is a hard discussion at the WTO. But I think that we have to find a mean, and I think that the way around it is really this value chain approach.
All internally displaced persons in Borno State have received another lifeline, this time from the Nigerian Customs Service. The relief materials donated by the service were received by the Deputy Governor, Mr. Zana Mustafa, in Maiduguri, the state capital. Mr. Mustafa commended the gesture from the Customs, saying that the state government has already spent so much money taking care of IDPs in 22 camps across the state.
Officials of the Nigerian Customs have lent a helping hand for the plight of internally displaced persons in the northeast. The officials were in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, to donate food items and clothing to the state government. The Deputy Controller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, who presented the relief materials to the state, explained that the items were voluntary donations by officers and men of the Customs Service to internally displaced persons in the state.
We are here to present to you some relief materials that were voluntarily donated by officers and men of the Nigerian Customs Service. This is coming from the heart, from the deep heart of officers and men of the Nigerian Customs Service. It is no issue, it is not bought with government money. These are things that officers contributed voluntarily. There are various items, more than 71 different items.
The items were received on behalf of the state government by the Deputy State Governor, who lamented the poor handling of the crisis in the state. The state government called on other organizations to emulate the gesture of the Nigerian Customs Service.
I want to thank you for these gifts, as I said earlier. Our IDPs are waiting for these items. I'm sure they are now waiting for it. They might have queued up now waiting for the items to come, because this is what they don't have. All of them left their houses without anything. As I'm talking to you right now, we have people from Sambiza that when Sambiza were being attacked, most of them ran out of Sambiza and they are on their way to Maiduguri. They are at the gate there, trying to be cleared so that they will enter the IDP camps. Honestly, I must say, you have come in an hour of need, which shows that the Nigerian Customs are our friend.
The items presented, which the custom boss says are not seized or confiscated items, include clothes, mats, cooking utensils and foodstuffs, and they are to be distributed to the over 1 million internally displaced persons in the state.
Now, the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA has distributed drugs and medical items to the various hospitals where victims of the May 31st petrol tanker fire accident are on admission. All this follows the visit of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to Onitsha to condole with a number of state governments over the accident that claimed many lives. The NEMA Director General's representative, Mr. Eze Odemuze, who led the agency team to Onitsha, commended the doctors and hospitals that managed the emergency.
The aftermath of the May 31st petrol tanker fire accident at Upper Iweka in Onitsha that claimed many lives and left several other people badly burned. The team from the National Emergency Management Agency in turn visits the General Hospital and the Menax Hospital in Onitsha, where the consignments of drugs and other materials for the treatment of the surviving victims are handed over to the medical directors. The visit to Toronto Hospital at Upper Iweka is more elaborate since it is the hospital closest to the scene of the tanker fire accident and harbors the majority of the burn victims. The NEMA team is taken round to see the patients, after which they hand over the drugs and other medical materials for their treatment.
Many people's lives have been saved as a result. So what we can only do is to encourage them by giving them these items, which was bought by the federal government. So the idea is for them to use these various medicaments to ensure speedy recovery of those who are in admission.
The governor has come of the state, the vice president has come, various agencies, the NEMA has come, and they're coming again with all these items to encourage us to continue to sustain life, God being our helper. So we are encouraged to do this humanitarian duty, that we're not left alone running it as professionals, but everybody's coming together to make sure that healthcare and health delivery is done to perfection.
Having done with the hospital rounds, the NEMA team visits Governor Willie Obiano, who commends their efforts. He also outlines other measures to bring relief to the victims.
I've asked the local chapter to articulate what we will present to the federal government to assist in doing, particularly in the rehabilitation and taking care of the orphans that the fire incident created.
It's been just over 2 weeks since the Onitsha petrol tanker fire disaster, but this time the hospital authorities have confirmed that they are not being left on their own to bear the burden of caring for the survivors.
Still ahead on the news at 10. A raid by the Oyo State Police Command lands suspected fraudsters in the police net. Join us again.